The story of TwtHill and the now lost first Rhuddlan Castle dates back to at least Norman times. It is well known that King Edward I built Rhuddlan Castle in the year 1277 as part of his Ring of Iron, an attempt to subdue and conquer the people of Wales. But this strategically important area around Rhuddlan has a history which goes back much further through thousands of years, past Roman times, past the Iron Age, the Bronze Age, and even the Stone Age. Artifacts, tools and weapons have been discovered locally from all these periods and more. Today, our story starts when the Normans arrived in Chester. In 1071, Hugh of Orange was appointed as the Earl of Chester. He is said to have been related directly to William the Conqueror. What is of no doubt, though, is the fact that Hugh was one of the great magnates and influencers in early Norman Britain. Hugh of Orange had a close relative, Robert, who Hugh thought much of. In 1072, Robert was appointed to the position of Hugh's commander of troops. Robert immediately began hostilities against the Welsh. Robert captured land in northeast Wales, including Rhuddlan. Robert built a castle here at Rhuddlan, from which he would subdue the Welsh and maintain control over much of North Wales. A familiar story for anyone who knows the story of King Edward I of England, who did a similar thing, but some 200 years after Robert of Rhuddlan. Robert constructed his castle right here at TwtHill. The name TwtHill might at first glance appear Welsh, but it is most likely related to the English phrase TwtHill, which was an old name given to a hilltop lookout. That perfectly describes this mound which we see today. Robert built a motte and bailey style castle. The motte, or main castle structure, would have been built here on top of the mound. It was likely of stone construction. Evidence of this has been found on the mound top. However, it is believed that it may have replaced an even earlier structure, which could have been a Welsh stronghold. Below the mound, we can see, even today, an expansive, flat area of land. This formed the bailey. It would have been an enclosed site for Norman settlement. Evidence of the stone perimeter wall is hidden but present. There was also a parish church which no longer exists, but was located in what is now the grounds of a school. The Domesday Book of 1086 catalogues Rhuddlan as being land owned by two people. Earl Hugh of Chester, that's our Hugh of Orange, owned 7 slaves, 8 burgesses, 3 ploughlands, 3 lords' plough teams, 2 fisheries, and half of a church. Meanwhile, Robert of Rhuddlan owned 7 slaves, 10 burgesses, 3 ploughlands, 3 lords' plough teams, 1 mill, 2 fisheries, and the other half of the church. Of course, the Domesday Book had been compiled in 1086 for William the Conqueror, and Rhuddlan at that time was listed as being in the county of Cheshire. Robert used Rhuddlan as a base for further expansion. Notably, he gathered his troops who crossed the river and fought their way westwards to Deganwy. And guess what he did at Deganwy? Yup, he built another castle, which is now lost. It was whilst staying over at Deganwy Castle that Robert of Rhuddlan lost his life, but that is a story for another video episode. After the death of Robert of Rhuddlan, Robert's lands passed into the ownership of Hugh, the Earl of Chester. A revolt by the Welsh in 1094 resulted in Hugh losing most of his land in Wales. In the following years, the castle at TwtHill changed hands between the Welsh and the English several times. I once read the statement that the Welsh were often fighting each other as much as fighting the English, and as often at peace with each other. This I recalled when I read a story about two men who stayed over at TwtHill in 1188. The priest and historian Geraldus Cambrensis, or Gerald of Wales, along with the Archbishop of Canterbury, stayed for a night at this castle whilst they were touring around Wales. Their tour consisted of preaching and recruiting for the Third Crusade. During their stay here, they were entertained by Dafydd, son of Owain Gwynedd, the King of Gwynedd. Then, in 1277, along came King Edward I of England. It is believed that Edward likely used TwtHill as a base when he first arrived. However, Edward wasn't impressed with the strategic location of TwtHill. The rest, as they say, is history. Edward built a brand spanking new castle at the side of TwtHill. The location was better, but not perfect. Edward employed a team of workers to divert the River Clwyd to a new route adjacent to his new castle. As time went by, the old TwtHill castle fell into disuse. This simple earthen mound is all that remains today of the TwtHill Castle, the first Rhuddlan Castle, now lost in Wales. But I do wonder, what happened to all the stone from TwtHill? Did stonework from the old Rhuddlan Castle get used in the construction of the new Rhuddlan Castle? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and meanwhile, as always, have a grand tour!